Now we start with the U.S. Activists in Charlotte, North Carolina, took to the streets to protest federal immigration raids carried out by the Department of Homeland Security. The raids, part of an expanded crackdown on illegal immigration in the U.S. South, have sparked fear and uncertainty in the city. Local leaders say the operation, which was expected, led to concerns over the detention of individuals with no criminal records, following similar actions in other cities. At the same time, hundreds of protesters gathered outside the White House to demonstrate against President Donald Trump. The protest remained peaceful but culminated in a march and the wrapping of crime scene tape around the White House perimeter. Protests plan 2 additional demonstrations later this month, calling for the removal of the Trump fascist regime. Now for this discussion, we welcome Matthew Vadam. He's an American journalist, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, Matthew, for joining us again. Good to see you. Matthew, what more can you tell us about these ongoing protests across U.S.?
Well, there's lots of protests across the United States in opposition to President Trump's strong deportation policies. He is trying to rid the country of illegal aliens, but first I believe he is focusing on criminal illegal aliens, and he has sent federal law enforcement officials into a number of cities around the country, including now Charlotte, North Carolina, where there are riots underway or that were underway yesterday against this policy. And he's already sent troops to places like Chicago and Los Angeles as well, because there are a lot of illegal aliens there, and there is a resistance to these policies that is being organized by far left groups. Anarchists and communists and Antifa, or some people pronounce it Antifa, the self-styled anti-fascist group that claims that President Trump is a fascist dictator and that he's out of control, and then he would counter that he's just enforcing U.S. Immigration laws, which were largely neglected when his predecessor, the Democrat Joe Biden, was president of the United States. So, as I've said before, the effort to prevent U.S. immigration laws is at times violent, and it is a radical activists are organizing an insurrection against the United States government. And so President Trump has, in certain cities across America, federalized or taken control of the National Guard, and is trying to prevent these activists and demonstrators and rioters from shutting down enforcement by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, the agency that enforces, that carries out deportations and so on. So, these riots are just, they're really nothing new. There have been a lot of them in recent months since President Trump's crackdown on illegal aliens got into full swing. And Charlotte, North Carolina is the latest place where this has been happening. The governor of North Carolina, I think his name is it Josh? It escapes me at the moment, isn't it? Josh Shapiro has said that he doesn't like the presence of all these federal law enforcement officials in North Carolina because they're, in his view, usurping the law enforcement function normally reserved to state and local officials in North Carolina. This is this complaint, he's echoing the complaint of Illinois' Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker, who said more or less the same thing about the federal presence in Illinois and in Chicago and its suburbs that is aimed at keeping ICE operations in business that these protesters are trying to shut down. They're trying to obstruct federal law enforcement. So, this is not this is the sort of thing that's been going on for a few months now. It's also been happening in Portland, Oregon, and in various other places where a lot of radical activists are concentrated.
And how could this framing of the demonstrations as opposition to a fascist regime influence political discourse and polarization?
Well, anyone who thinks President Donald Trump is a fascist doesn't know what the meaning of the term fascist, because he's not a fascist. He's trying to, some people don't like him, they don't like his policies, but here he's only trying to enforce United States immigration laws, and they view his tactics as heavy-handed, but I think that that's a misperception based upon the fact that his predecessor, Democrat President Joe Biden, barely enforced immigration laws at all. So someone trying to, put forward a strong, good faith effort to enforce immigration laws is obviously going to be viewed as heavy-handed compared to someone who made no effort to enforce U.S. immigration laws. So, the claim that Donald Trump is the fascist is something that the left has been, a smear that the left has been using against President Trump for a long time, merely because he wants to enforce U.S. immigration laws. If the people calling Donald Trump a fascist don't like this, then they should complain to the United States Congress that passed the Immigration and Nationality Act and other federal statutes that authorize the president to remove illegal aliens from the country. Their argument is with the system, the legal regime, and not with President Trump. But they prefer to demonize and vilify President Trump and call him names because that serves their political agenda.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Matthew for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for another discussion. Now, moving on, thousands